Hello, welcome to another video from earnped.com. I'm Stevie B, happy to have you all with me today. Let's take some big sips to get this one started off right. So guys, today we have some breaking news that we need to talk about. This video is going to be longer than my usual videos. However, it's very important. The things we're going to be talking about are extremely important. I want to keep you guys safe. I want to keep you guys from losing money. And I also want to get the community to kind of start thinking along the lines of what we need to do to try and protect this game as well. So I will try and get through it as quickly as I can, sticking to the details and the pertinent facts. Please bear with me though, because it will be longer than my usual videos. So that being said, guys, what we need to talk about is some breaking news that happened this morning. I'm actually on Planet Siren. What we're going to be talking about today has nothing to do with Planet Siren. Let me read you the official announcement first, and then we're going to break down all the reasons this is a horrible idea and something you should avoid putting money into. So I'm going to read you the official announcement directly from MindArk. Announcing Triton Industries shares, home of the Sand King. In December 2023, Triton Industries will expand the Entropia Exchange with 500,000 Triton Industries shares. The Entropia Exchange allows participants to acquire shares via virtual companies and receive revenue in the form of dividends from estates controlled by those companies. Triton Industries is now offering shares on Triton Island, a small island northeast of Arimathea on planet Calypso, also known by Entropians as the Sand King Island. You can access Triton Industries Island by teleporting to Jameson's Reach or Naval Station Triton. The oasis is located in the middle of the desert landscape populated by the creature class Rextellum. The Rextellum was previously thought to be extinct before Governor Jameson's expedition found a healthy population located on the island. This creature class is currently the largest arthropod known to science, and is speculated that its sheer size keeps it safe from other aerial predators on the island. The Triton Island is frequently visited by colonists to challenge the largest Rextellum creatures, the Sand King. Triton Industries is the fifth company to be listed on the Entropia Exchange, and the first batch of shares will be made available on Tuesday, December 5th, 2023. The shares from Triton Industries will be available in multiple batches over time. You can acquire shares via the Entropia Exchange, accessed by right-clicking on your PED card. Stay tuned for additional information and details about these shares. Now, that being said, if you look at the Planet Calypso forum announcement, MindArk is getting destroyed by players saying, "We cannot believe you're doing this." I am going to be one of those players. Let me explain something. There is no Triton Industries. This does not exist. This is not a company. This is not a player-owned land area. In fact, this doesn't seem to be a land area at all. I have been to Naval Station Triton Teleporter multiple times. I have been to Jameson's Reach multiple times. I have been to the Sand King multiple times. MindArk also posted this announcement on Facebook, and as soon as it was posted, I said, "Hey, Entropia Universe, how in the world are these shares going to create revenue? This is a non-taxed area. It's not a land area where events are held. It's not a tax land area where the land area owner gets some kind of a tax whenever you go and you hunt or mine. It's just a part of the game, like literally everywhere else." So I don't understand, first off, how they expect these shares to generate any kind of revenue, because again, this is a non-taxed area. Number two, there is no Triton Industries. This is not a business. If this was a player-owned land area that generated some kind of tax from hunting or mining, then I could see calling it Triton Industries. There's no such thing. This is literally just the Naval Station Triton teleporter and the Jameson's Reach teleporter and the area immediately surrounding the two. And I don't understand how they expect these shares to generate any kind of revenue at all. So here's the thing. This is bad. This is really bad because there are going to be players, no matter how much me and other players scream from the hilltop, even though I'm going to put this video out, even though most of you can see why this is a horrible idea, there will be people that will spend money on these shares. And they will lose money. These shares are worth zero, nothing, nada. So any amount of money put into these might as well just be considered lost. Might as well just be considered gone. It is absolutely abhorrent that they're calling it Triton Industries. There is no such thing. There is no business. There is no land area. There is no revenue path. There is just the teleporter to a place that happens to be called Naval Station Triton. So this is bad on multiple fronts because A, unsuspecting players will buy these shares. They will lose money. If you buy these shares, you are throwing your money away. End of story. But more importantly, this really, really makes the game and MindArk look bad. I mean, really, really bad. And that's not good for any of us who love this game. So I want to take a few minutes and I want to talk about some of the reasons why this is so bad from MindArk's perspective, why this is such a horrible thing, and I cannot believe they're doing this. And I don't just mean that there's going to be people that are going to buy these shares and their money is going straight down the drain. I mean things that are not immediately obvious to most people. So here's the thing. First of all, I can tell you right away, without hesitation, it is blatantly obvious to me that since MindArk is now a publicly traded company, they are doing this in an effort to try and cook the books and make it look like they are more profitable than they are. If they can dump $500,000 of these shares for 10 petty each, which would be $1 each, then that would mean an extra $500,000 worth of income or revenue, depending on how they put it on their balance sheet, how they deal with the books. And it would make them look much, much, much more profitable. And to unwitting investors out there who have purchased MindArk stock on the legitimate real world exchange, if they don't really understand the intricacies of the company, they might think, wow, there's really a hot market for virtual real estate in this game. That's bad. You see where this is going. Number two, from the outside looking in, let's say that you're somebody who maybe you've played a different MMORPG and maybe you've heard about Entropia a couple of times and you've looked into it a little bit and you've considered playing Entropia, and you see this and then you get into the game and you start getting knowledgeable and you find out that while there has been one successful company listed on the Entropia Exchange, being Crystal Palace, practically everything else has been a cash grab failure. New Treasure Island deeds, cash grab failure. Arcadia Moon deeds, cash grab failure. Ancient Greece shares, cash grab failure. And now you're seeing this with people going, no, this isn't even a company. This is nothing. It's not a company. It's not a land area. We're not even sure what you're selling here because there's no way for it to even generate revenue. If you were somebody who recently started playing the game, would you trust this company to hold your money so that you can participate in this economy. When they're selling shares in something that isn't a land area, isn't a company, that has no path to revenue, where everybody's going, we don't even know where these dividends are supposed to come from because this is a non-taxed area. How is this even supposed to work? Would you trust that company to make your first deposit? Or your second deposit? Would you trust them to hold any of your money? Now, let's go even a step further. I have considered MindArk to be towing the line and flirting with something it doesn't really want to flirt with for some time over this whole Entropia Exchange thing, over this whole listing of shares in this virtual economy. They've been really flirting with something they don't want to flirt with here. Now they're throwing the line out the window. They're jumping so far over the line, it's ridiculous. This runs afoul of every securities exchange law on the books in the United States. This runs afoul of every securities law in the United States. Point blank, period, hands down. This is the exact type of thing that the Securities Exchange Commission is responsible for regulating, responsible for making sure that this does not happen. And MindArk is so clearly just running smooth over that line and acting like it doesn't exist that it is scary. This is what people end up getting arrested for. This is where criminal charges start to come in these types of scenarios. Because this is not, there's a business and shares were offered and maybe the right regulations weren't followed and people invested money and maybe they didn't even lose anything, but we just didn't follow the rules quite right. This is quite blatantly, I have snake oil and I want to sell you a share in my new snake oil company. It makes no revenue. It has no source of income. It actually didn't exist until 2 seconds ago when I decided I have a snake oil company, but I want to sell you shares for $500,000. This is exactly the kind of thing that the Securities Exchange Commission is supposed to protect consumers from. Not only the Securities Exchange Commission here in the United States, but every regulatory agency in every jurisdiction worldwide that has a functioning first world financial system. There are consumer laws on the books. There are security laws on the books to protect from this. Now, in a third world country where you don't have running water, maybe not, but in any first world country, Sweden, Switzerland, Ireland, Finland, Great Britain, Scotland, Spain, France, Germany, Russia, practically anywhere that has a functioning first world economy, a first world financial system, there are rules and regulations and laws on the books, both in a consumer protection capacity and in a securities regulation capacity, to protect from exactly this. That is absolutely horrifying to me as somebody who loves this game. Because I could easily see somebody ending up in jail or prison from criminal charges from this. Now, that said, what is the difference? Let's go back to the very beginning, before there was an Entropia Exchange, before there were Crystal Palace shares. For some time, many, many years, in-game, we have had various sorts of deeds. The most expensive and the most sought after of which, for a long time, was the Calypso land deed, which has now been turned into a share. Then we had Arcadia Underground deeds. We also had Compet deeds. Now, Compet, out of the three, Compet was the one that totally flopped. Compet was supposed to be a mobile game, and it just did not work. It did not take off. The deeds paid out one time ever, and then the game was shut down and removed from the stores for the Google Play Store and the iPhone store, from the Apple store. So the compact game just ceased to exist. Now, the deeds were still in game, trading hand player to player, because prior to the Entropia Exchange, there was an actual deed. It was something you could carry in your carried inventory, just like I can carry my weapons or my ammo. Just like I would have a deed to an apartment that would be under my money and deeds section. I could actually walk up to a player and trade these to people. So then we had the Entropia Exchange come about. Now, why did we even have the Entropia Exchange come about? Well, when Crystal Palace was very first created, it was brand new in-game content. And when that happened, Buzz bought Crystal Palace in its entirety for over $300,000 US. And he kept it for about a decade. For a decade, Crystal Palace was exceedingly profitable year after year after year. That is because Crystal Palace, when it was built, was designed to be profitable. It was given unique creatures. It was given unique missions. The creatures dropped high value, high demand, high markup loot. The creatures dropped high demand, high value, high markup Uber items that were unlimited, like FAPs. There were multiple reasons to not just go to Crystal Palace, but to camp Crystal Palace endlessly. And if you did so, and if you knew what you were doing, it didn't matter that it was a taxed land area. You could still make money. And many players did. And Buzz made money because it was a taxed land area. So Buzz eventually, 10 years down the road, decided to sell Crystal Palace. His life was changing, his career was changing, things with his kids were speeding up. He wanted to enjoy all those things, right? Life changes as you go. Buzz had no intention of making it into a share. Buzz actually had a buyer who was willing to buy all of Crystal Palace. However, the problem was the price tag was $500,000. And because of the sheer amount of money involved, MindArk said, before we can allow this transaction to take place, we need to review that person's financials. We need to make sure that they're not laundering money. We need to make sure that they're not avoiding taxes. We need to make sure that this person is legit. Now, the person was willing to do that. But the problem is, when that person got ready to sell, they would face the same situation, and there's no guarantee the next person would have been willing to subject themselves to that. An even bigger problem is when you have a player-owned land area, which again, Naval Station Triton and Jameson's Reach, they are not player-owned land areas. They are not. But when you do have a player-owned land area, you have a deed that, again, can be carried in your carried inventory, just like an apartment deed. But you also have something called a land area marker. And it provides a rather unique mechanism and game mechanic that only functions with land areas. So with a land area, you have to do two things. A, have the deed on you in your carried inventory, and B, go interact with the land area marker. The land area marker is where you can put in the DNA to spawn creatures on your land area. It's where you can adjust your tax rates and your spawn rates. But most importantly, when you interact with that land area marker and the deed is in your inventory, this is how the game knows that you're now the owner of the land area, and any income generated from the tax on that land area should go into your account. So when it comes to financing land areas, this creates an interesting opportunity. One of the very first transactions I did in game, in fact, the very first transaction I ever did in game, was there was a player who wanted to finance a land area. There were two land areas that had a highly desirable creature on it. It was not possible to create this creature on a third land area. So if this player owned both of these land areas, he had a monopoly on hunting this creature in a taxed land area. However, if he only had one of the land areas, there was somebody else in competition with him. He already owned one of the land areas. So what he did is he got the deed, he went to the land area marker, he interacted with it and set the tax rate, the spawn rate, put the fertilizer in, and the game knew to put the money in his account. He then handed me the deed to hang on to for safekeeping while I financed the transaction. Now, as long as I did not go interact with the land area marker, the money would keep going into his account every day. However, if I had walked up to that land area marker and interacted with it, then the money would have started coming into my account every day. This is fairly unique as a game mechanic. You see something similar with spaceships like motherships or privateers. The person who has the actual deed to the privateer or the mothership is the one that has access to the guest list to add and remove people from the guest list that can be on the ship. However, once you're on the guest list, you don't have to have the deed on you. You can go visit the ship whenever you want. You can even fly the ship, repair the ship, shoot the guns on the ship, but without that deed, you don't have the ability to sell the ship. It's a similar game mechanic. Now, in the case of Crystal Palace, this was quite problematic. When MindArk first created Crystal Palace and sold it to Buzz, they gave him the deed, but they never thought to put in a land area marker because they never thought he would sell it. That never occurred to them. Without the land area marker, it was impossible for Buzz to sell Crystal Palace. Even if somebody had given him the money for it, and even if he had given them the deed, he had no way to interact with the system to tell the system, hey, I'm no longer the owner. I don't want the money going into my account from now on. The money needs to go in the new player's account that just purchased it. The new owner would have the deed, but without that land area marker, he had no way to tell the game, I now own this land area. Please give me the revenue. That was quite a problem. Even if Buzz had been willing to log in every single day and transfer the revenue in person to this other person, Buzz could not do that for the rest of his life. He could not do that for the next 150 years. At some point, Buzz is going to quit playing. At some point, Buzz would pass away in real life. So without that land area marker, the Crystal Palace deal was dead in the water. Whenever MindArk was informed about all this and all this kind of came out, this is when MindArk came up with the idea for the Entropia Exchange. The Entropia Exchange meant there was no need for a land area marker at Crystal Palace, and it meant that MindArk didn't have to go through this review process and examine the person's finances in depth because they weren't getting $500,000 from one player. They were selling 500,000 shares to many different players. And this is how the Entropia Exchange came to be. And when Crystal Palace was listed, it was an amazing deal. Crystal Palace had made money hand over fist for a decade, every year better than the one before it. It was an established business with protected creatures that had high demand loot, high markup loot, with special unique missions. It was a unique business with a protected business model and proven revenue stream. This is why when Crystal Palace shares were officially launched, everybody jumped on them as fast as they could. There was no question Crystal Palace was worth investing in. However, this is where the story of the Entropia Exchange goes off the rails. What have we seen listed on the Entropia Exchange since then? Well, we've seen new Treasure Island shares. Treasure Island was a dead land area for the better part of a decade. And yes, it was a player-owned taxed land area, But for the longest time, the tax rate had been taken down to 0. So people were not used to paying a tax there. And the creatures that were there were nothing special. Even if the tax had been only 1%, there was no reason to go really hunt the creatures there, because you could easily hunt these creatures elsewhere for free, no tax. The only reason New Treasure Island had any value at all, the only reason it's generated any kind of revenue at all, is because there are creatures that are supposed to be unique to the asteroid Foma that started being spawned on New Treasure Island after the shares were sold. And it is better for people hunting those unique creatures to go hunt them at New Treasure Island than to try and hunt them on Foma. Now, the New Treasure Island shares have been a massive failure by any stretch of the imagination. And if you spent money on New Treasure Island shares, I'm sorry, I told you so. I told you not to do that. I told you it was a stupid move. Crystal Palace was an established business with many protections in place and with years of profitable history. New Treasure Island was the opposite. It was essentially something brand new that maybe it would work, maybe it wouldn't, and by all appearances, it did not seem like it would. Another giant failure of the Entropia Exchange was the ancient Greece shares. Ancient Greece had been around prior to the shares being listed. But it was only once the next island development team started really doing some development and creating some content that the shares were listed. And originally there was 750,000 shares listed at $1 each. And I said it at the time, I'm sorry, but just because you made a new wave event where we can spawn a Gorgon, just because you made a new armor upgrade mission and a new armor plate upgrade mission, that does not magically translate into $750,000 worth of new content. And sure enough, it didn't. There were players who bought into the ancient Greece shares, and then they were promptly disappointed when the price started falling, when they never ended up selling out all of the original shares to begin with, and when the income from the shares was exceedingly low. You did not do $750,000 worth of development. So why did you think people were going to give you $750,000? It was stupid from the get-go. They did end up reducing the number of ancient Greece shares available, but they have still not sold out. Then they converted the Planet Calypso deeds into Planet Calypso shares. This did not magically make them more valuable. They were just as valuable as they had been before. But they took one Planet Calypso deed, one CLD, one Calypso land deed, and they transferred it into 100 of the new Calypso land deed trust shares. The price on the deeds prior to being made into shares was so high, it was prohibitively expensive for a lot of players. So when you converted it, one deed into 100 shares, that meant a lot more players were able to afford a share. It was a lot easier for people to afford something that was 30 or 40 PED per share than it was for people to afford a deed that was worth 100 shares that was almost 3,000 PED. The price did go up after it was turned into shares, but it was not because there was value added to it. It was because more people could afford a single share as opposed to a deed which had the value of 100 shares. So, generally speaking, we can say that the Entropia Exchange has been a massive failure. Planet Calypso deeds were already profitable and valuable and highly sought after. Crystal Palace and its shares were a raging success because it was an established business with established revenue streams, with established profitability and protections that made everything about the business unique and desirable. However, every other listing on the Entropia Exchange has been a blatant cash grab. The word investment is not even fitting. It is pure speculation, and it is stupid speculation of the highest degree, because you know up front with a basic analysis this will not end well. These things will go down in value. They will not have income, and if they do have any income at all, it will not be good income. The shares will not appreciate in value. You will be lucky if they even sell out at all. This was true with the ancient Greece shares. This was true with the next new Treasure Island shares. And this is now going to be true with the Triton Industries shares. I don't even know where they got the name Triton Industries. There is no such thing. There is the Naval Station Triton Teleporter, and there is the Jameson's Reach Teleporter. Again, this is not a taxed land area. This is not a player-owned land area. So let me put this into perspective. Most of you are familiar with Zykion Citadel. I understand not a lot of people have been to Naval Station Triton or Jameson's Reach. But most of you are familiar with Zykion Citadel. Most of you are familiar with Twin Peaks. Most of you are familiar with Camp Icarus. This would be like listing any of those and calling it a business. You could replace Triton Industries with Icarus Industries, now offering 500,000 shares of Camp Icarus. Okay. It's not a land area. It's not player owned. There's no tax. How is it supposed to generate any revenue? And why would anybody want to be there? Why would this have any value whatsoever? Let's try it with Twin Peaks. Now introducing Twin Peaks Industries and their 500,000 shares. Okay. How's it going to make money? It's not a tax land area. It's not player owned. There's no way to generate revenue or income from it just existing. Why would people want to go there? Let's try it with Zykion Citadel. Now introducing Zykion Industries. Again, where's the revenue? Where does the money come from? This is not a taxed area. There is no business. Just because you put the word industries at the end of it does not make a business. What makes a business is revenue, income. These are the things that make a business. Go out in your front yard. Call it front yard industries. Does it make any money? No. Is there any income? No. Is there any revenue? No. It's just grass. Putting the word industries after the name or calling it a business does not make a business. What makes a business is revenue and income. And Naval Station Triton and Jameson's Reach do not have revenue. They do not have income. They are not taxed areas that make money based on the ped turned over hunting or mining or crafting. So I will ask again, where will this income magically appear from? What makes this any kind of valuable at all? And why is this happening? We know the why. MindArk is now a publicly traded company. They need to show growth to the people who are the real-world investors investing in their company. They have not done their job. They have not done the job of bringing in new players. They have not done the job of bringing in new blood and new money. So, this is a pathetic attempt at a cash grab to try and show the investors, well, there's high demand for virtual real estate. If that was true, you would not be selling this place off piecemeal as a share, calling it a business. You would be auctioning it off to the highest bidder and selling it all as one land area. This is absolutely appalling on every level. I am absolutely ashamed of MindArk right now. And this is very worrisome because this is not just my hobby. This is my passion. This is the game that I absolutely love. I could be doing anything with my time, but I spend hours a day in this game. Hours a day playing this game, progressing through this game, having fun with this game. And to see MindArk do this is very scary. Could I care less if the employees at MindArk go to jail for securities fraud or violating consumer protection laws and regulations? No. I'm sorry. Everybody knows we've got a love-hate relationship. They're not a fan of mine. I'm not a fan of theirs. I think that the people at MindArk are greedy and completely and utterly incompetent. They have the best game on the planet, and they have no idea how to run it. They have no idea how to advertise. They have no idea how to bring in new players. They don't need to do crappy things like this in order to make money. All they have to do is run the game correctly. Run the company correctly. They haven't. They could create new content. They haven't. What new content have you added to Naval Station Triton that makes it worth money? None. Zero. Is the Sand King suddenly going to start spawning all the time and have some reason everybody would want to go hunt it nonstop and camp it? Does it have some new cool mission chain and a lot of really cool high markup, high demand loot? Is there something new about Naval Station Triton or Jameson's Reach that suddenly makes me want to go camp there 24 hours a day? No. Have you created any new content? No. So this is a blatant cash grab, and everything about it smells to high heaven. So guys, I know this video has gone longer than expected, and I'm sorry, but this is important. This is a big deal because this cannot continue. They cannot keep listing worthless area after worthless area on the Entropia Exchange and expect the Entropia Exchange to survive, much less thrive. It won't. I think most people watching this video are aware of what a massive problem this is, of how bad this really is for not just the players that invest in this unwittingly not knowing what they're doing, but for the game. Not just for MindArk or the people stupid enough to do this, but for those of us who love this game and want to see this game thrive. This is a stupid move all around. There's no good reason to be doing this. This was a horrible, horrible idea. And any player who buys a single share of this Triton Industries share product that they're launching is going to lose money. The shares will not go up in value. I will go further. These shares won't even sell out. At least the Crystal Palace shares sold out. Even if the Crystal Palace shares had gone down in value, at least then we could say at least there was enough demand that the shares sold out, and now we trade them player to player. If we go to the Entropia Exchange right now, Ancient Greece shares, 215,000 shares available out of 400,000 total shares. You know why there's so many shares available for sale right now? because the vast majority never sold in the first place. We can forget about the Calypso Land Deed Trust and Crystal Palace shares because the Crystal Palace shares did sell out. The Calypso Land Deed Trust, those shares were all converted from old deeds. But look at new Treasure Island shares. 14,034 shares currently available. Price per share, 7.97 PED. Remember, these were originally 10 PED per share. So somebody's willing to lose 2 PED per share, 20% of their investment, just to get out from under them for the new Treasure Island shares. What about ancient Greece? 9.6 PED per share. Notice there's 215,000 shares still available at 10 PED each. That means that the Next Island development team still has 215,000 shares that they've never sold from the original IPO. More than half of the ancient Greece shares never sold. And people are still willing to sell the shares that they did buy at a loss just to get out from under them. Now, it might be a 4 or 5% loss compared to the 20% on new Treasure Island shares. But still, that is not good. Why is MindArk even messing with this Triton Industries thing when the first thing it should be doing is looking at new Treasure Island and ancient Greece shares and saying, whoa, we need to do something about this. This is not good. Before any other shares are listed, we need to figure out a way to help fix this. We need to do something about new Treasure Island to add new content, new reasons for people to come generate revenue here to make these shares more valuable. They should be going to the Next Island development team saying, hey, you still haven't sold over half the shares from the original ancient Greece offering. We need to do something. You guys are doing a great job at creating new content and reasons for people to come to Next Island and ancient Greece. We need to keep developing ancient Greece, and we need to get it to a point where these shares do have value and they do end up selling out. It's been over 2 years. At this point, there's no excuse not to. But instead, they're doing yet another share for another non-existent company. This company did not exist. I'd never even heard of Triton Industries prior to this because they just tacked the word industries onto the end. Guys, this is unacceptable. So what can we do? Well, there's a couple of things. Number one, share this information. Make sure everybody you know in game understands not to buy these shares. Do not reward MindArk for bad behavior. Make sure that the oldest player to the newest player understands, do not buy a single share of these Triton Industries crap shares. You will lose money. But more importantly, doing so would be rewarding MindArk for bad behavior. We cannot allow that to happen if we want MindArk to stop doing stupid things like this. MindArk has to learn this is not okay, and the only way to do that is to hit them in the pocketbook. So if these shares don't sell, they just look really stupid for no reason. However, if these shares do sell to people who just don't understand they're going to lose money on it for some reason, then MindArk's being rewarded for looking stupid. We need to make sure these shares do not sell. So number one, tell everybody that you know not to buy these shares and why. Share the link to this video if you have to. Number two, if you agree with me that this is a bad idea, if you agree with me that MindArk should not be doing this, if you agree with me that it makes no sense because all they did was tack the word industries onto it, if you agree with me that we have no idea how that revenue is going to be generated because this is a non-taxed area, if you agree with me that it sounds really stupid because this isn't even a land area, it's just a part of the game, hit the like button on the video. I don't like what's going on just as much as you guys don't. However, what I'm asking you guys is please understand, if you agree with me that this is not okay and should not be happening and nobody should buy these shares, that's why I want you to hit the like button, because you're agreeing with me. Doing so will help to get this video more exposure. That means more people will find out about it, and hopefully more people will be saved from accidentally buying something that they think has value when it doesn't. Number three, share the link to this video. Put it on your Facebook page. Share it around to your society. Put it on your Facebook groups. Make sure we get this in front of as many people as possible so that unsuspecting players do not buy into this Triton Industries crap. They will lose money on every single share they purchase. And number 4, send in a support case letting MindArk know this is not okay. I'm going to send in a support case later today to kick this off. I want to cool down and word it and make it short and sweet, but I want MindArk to know this is not acceptable. In fact, it's pretty much blatantly illegal. It's not okay when you have the best game in the world. All you have to do is create new content. All you have to do is advertise. All you have to do is draw in new players. These things are all very easy to do. There is no reason for you to be doing such a blatant cash grab to try and pull the fleece over on your investors. There is no reason to be trying to just simply cash grab at your loyal customer base, knowing they will lose money, just because you want to cook the books to make it look like you've got growth you don't have, because you're too lazy to do the job the right way. So send in a support case, make it short, make it sweet, be polite, and say, this is not okay. Please stop listing non-existent companies on the Entropia Exchange. Please stop creating shares for things that don't exist, where there's no path to revenue, where there's no path to income, where players will lose money and it will leave a bad taste in everybody's mouth and give both MindArk the company and Entropia the game a bad name. This is an amazing game full of amazing people. This game should never have a bad name or leave a bad taste in somebody's mouth. So, very politely, very kindly, very respectfully, submit a support case and let MindArk know this is not acceptable. I will be doing the same. So guys, I'm going to leave it there for today. I know this video is much longer than my usual videos. However, this is very important. This is completely, utterly unacceptable in every way. I seriously hope MindArk reconsiders doing this and these shares do not launch. This could be devastating in so many ways. So please help me get the word out. Please, if people do not understand the difference between Crystal Palace, an established business with 10 years of profitable history, and this, please help explain it to them. It is the equivalent of walking out in your front yard saying that now your front yard has the word industries attached to it and is somehow a business, pulling out your wallet and throwing your credit card down on top of your grass. It is exactly the same, except for, in this case, you don't get to pick the credit card back up. The money's just gone because you will lose money. These shares will not sell out. They will go down in value from their initial price, which hasn't even been listed yet. It doesn't matter. These shares could be a peck a piece. They could be 1/100th of a ped, and they still have no value. No value is no value, no matter how you chop it up. So guys, please, please, please help me spread the word about this. Let's try and keep people from getting shafted, and let's let MindArk know this is not an acceptable thing to do. Do the job, create new in-game content, advertise the game, draw in new players who will quickly make this their hobby, their passion, the game that they love, and there will be no need for this nonsense. Guys, I'm going to leave it there for today. Head over to earnped.com. That's a great way to support us, but please also subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest things going on inside of Entropia Universe. All the newest events, changes in games, and ways to play smarter, not harder. And guys, please hit the like button on every single video. I understand there are videos like this one, where I don't like what's going on here either. You're not hitting the like button because you think it's a good thing. You're hitting the like button because you agree with me that I think it's a terrible thing. I think there's 1,000 things wrong with this. But hitting the like button is a signal to me that you agree with me, and a signal to me that you are like-minded. It is also a signal to YouTube to give our videos more exposure. When you comment on a video, when you like a video, when you subscribe to the channel, those things all help YouTube know to put our videos in front of more people. And guess what? It's working. We are getting emails every single week from people saying, hey, I'd never heard of Entropia before. I used to play a different game on my PC. I used to play a different MMORPG. But one day I was on YouTube and one of your videos popped up as a suggested video. So, I clicked it. Never heard of Entropia before, but watched your video, started watching your channel. Now I love this game. Now it's my hobby. Now it's my passion. Now this is the game that I love. I'm getting ready for my first mayhem. I'm out in the universe exploring Cyrene, Next Island, Arcadia, Tulun, Monria, DSEC 9. You guys are the ones making that happen because I make the content, but you guys get the content, the exposure it needs to get in front of people by hitting the like button, by hitting subscribe. And I don't mind doing MindArk's job for them, because when people find out about Entropia, and when people know how to play smarter, not harder, people start playing this game, they love it, and it becomes a huge part of their life. It becomes a passion. It becomes something they can't put down. And that helps the game, it helps the community, it helps the economy, and it helps us to thrive. So guys, I don't like making videos like this, but I really appreciate all the support from the community out there. So I will leave it there for today. Until next time, sip, sip, smack, smack. Y'all know the rest. Take care, Stevies.